What is up, guys, and welcome to the Nexus podcast Player Spotlight. Today we have Aoife here, who played white at last weekend's preseason Grand Open. How are you doing?
I'm good. I had to get an emergency dentist appointment this morning, so I guess that's probably for the best, though. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I was playing with a toothache all weekend.
Oh yeah, that is not ideal for the concentration.
No,
But
no.
obviously it didn't affect you too much, as you placed very well. So congratulations on.
Thank you very much.
Was it third, fourth, or did you play out for the third place?
We didn't play out.
Yeah,
I would
so it's just third.
assume I would be fourth because I would have 2 losses and Josh would only have 1.
Okay.
So I think I'm fourth.
Yeah, that would make sense then. But yeah, congratulations either way. A really great showing, and you played the same color for the whole time, so that's really great to see. Consistency in a player, and you top pretty much most events. So we'll get into how you adapt with each meta and stuff like that.
I'm ready for those hard hitting questions.
But we'll start from the beginning. So how did you get into like TCGs and playing TCGs?
Gosh.
This is, obviously we all have our origin story. So
Can I just say, being an autistic child?
well, I mean,
I
that's kind of the premise to it for most of us, right?
yeah, I mean, I think I've probably been involved in TCGs as long as I can remember. I think I'm one of those people that learned to read partly from looking at Pokemon cards and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was in primary school, I was ahead of my maths classes and stuff because I was doing so many Yu-Gi-Oh calculations and stuff and finding ways to make it easier.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I think competitively, other than a single locals I went to and I was 8 for Yu-Gi-Oh, where I got absolutely rinsed because I was trying to play all my favorite cards and everybody was on an archetype. I think I really started playing competitively with Vanguard.
Okay.
I was a very early adopter of Vanguard. I played. There used to be shout out to anybody that was on Beyond for the really crappy. What was it called? I think it was called Cardfight Capital or something. So I played that. So pre-English launch Vanguard, and I played that up until the first reboot, and that was a horrible mistake. I wouldn't recommend Vanguard to my worst enemy.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, no. And I really started I wrote a lot of articles for Vanguard back in the day. Yeah, I used to run Cardfight XP. I would write a lot of stuff there while I was just in high school. And then I think I really started working very hard to improve my skills and stuff when I was playing Magic. So that would have been
yeah.
I started playing Magic when I was 11 when Innistrad came out.
That's interesting. Pretty much the same for me, actually. I mean, I'm a bit older. I'm 36, but I started playing when I was 12 years old, and it was very early on. It was when I was in school. One of my teachers was like, "You might like this," and I was like, "Okay," and then here we are. But yeah, Magic, I love that game. But
yeah,
what about you? Was that how were you introduced to it? Were you just saw it on the shelves, or?
I had a family member that I would play Yu-Gi-Oh with a lot, and
Nice.
they vastly preferred Magic. So I think once they felt like I was old enough, they're just all right, enough of this. No, stop making me play Yu-Gi-Oh. Here is 60 cards. We're gonna learn how to play this, and that just stopped.
Nice.
And yeah, I played Magic kind of casually, really just with family and stuff.
Same with me, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I did start off as a little aggro shitter, trying to play burn decks. And then I got into Magic properly, started playing competitively with I think it was Amonkhet. I put together the blue-white approach deck, and I've been playing Control pretty much since.
Yeah, would you say you're just a control-centric player then in all the games you play now, or?
Yeah, just something about it like gels with the way my brain works, and I have never built proper aggro fundamentals. So I play aggro decks and testing and stuff, and I think I'm fine with them. But like when I would if in a tournament environment, I couldn't rely on just like the reflex of it.
Yeah,
But
you just feel
yeah,
more comfortable with your control. Well,
but yeah, we
what actually pushed you into playing Battle Spirits then from Magic and stuff like this? Because it's obviously
so
it's a bit different.
I started playing Magic with the pandemic.
Hmm.
It was really unfortunate. I just before the pandemic had qualified for the PT.
Oh, okay.
Or the regional players tour, whatever they were calling it
Yeah,
at the
the
time.
equivalent.
Yeah, so I qualified with Pioneer when it was new, and me and my whole like team that I was playtesting with, and then the pandemic hit and that was all cancelled. And Magic just kept getting worse and worse. So I kind of dipped from card games for about a year. Played competitive Tekken, which I still play.
Nice.
Um,
Very cool.
yeah, made a bit of a name for myself by getting very good very quickly. Well, not very good, just good. Very good is a whole different tier in fighting games, but yeah. And then I was playing Digimon casually, and one of my friends is on Discord, Huang Zero, like the zero part of that channel for Digimon.
Yeah.
They got an early preview of Battle Spirits, and initially I was like, well, screw Battle Spirits, that game killed Zen and Zard, which is my pick for the best card game of all time, besides maybe Netrunner. And then obviously like they started announcing it properly, and the mechanics look really interesting. I love resource tension, and that's just the core Battle Spirits, pun intended, I guess. I just resource tension is everything for me in a game. I hate games where there's no question about whether I'm going to have the mana to cast my spell next turn. I want to have to think about it all the time. And Battle Spirits has got you thinking about it all the time plus two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's great. And so you've talked about being in teams and stuff. I'm guessing are you in a team right now with Battle Spirits, or do you just have like a smaller sort of testing group that you use?
This is one of the things I'm quite quietly proud of, is that for most events, I think barring Glasgow, where we had a 3-person team, it's just me and Dave. We're a 2-person team. This time, there was a lot of communication between, like, I was talking to Kieran a lot, like bouncing all ideas off him, and like a few of the Americans, Zach, who also top forward their preseason event, and obviously the one and only Alex Blandon. The man of voice messages himself. And yeah, so it was really interesting because it meant I could bounce my ideas off people a lot more.
Would you say it helps you think a bit more outside of your own sort of box in a way of how you would build your decks, or what was the best benefit of talking to other players outside of your normal circle?
The refinement process was so much smoother. I felt like I had my deck ready to go like 2 weeks before the event, which was very helpful. And yeah, just like it also means that you kind of avoid inbreeding your list too much and ending up with one of these things where it's like, oh, I was dominating a testing, and then it turned out the meta game wasn't as I predicted, and it didn't do as well, right? So having a lot of ideas to bounce off of, but then also like it also adds like an interesting element of you kind of have to have some of your own like convictions and stuff. Because like I remember passing off the list that I used to Zach, and Zach was so I passed off 2 lists. I had 2 lists that I was like, literally, I had a more aggressive, fully tempo version that I sort of tested more initially, and then I think it was Kieran who like. It was me and Kieran who first, like, I can't remember which one of us said it first, but it was a discussion between the 2 of us that kind of flowed the idea of like trying to do both. Because Frost Tiger is an insanely juiced card, and my tempo list didn't really have it. And also, the tempo list had to work hard for every game. You could have really good matchups where you'd win most of the time, but you were working really, really hard. And
unlike some of the decks in this format, right?
And so yeah, it was also just a matter of like the tempo deck was pretty bad into Era.
Yeah,
it was a really hard one for that because you couldn't really like sometimes you just have to go wide, and then you're just like, ooh, lovely, give me.
What do you think of that archetype in general?
Yeah.
The new Star Dragons one. Do you think it's overtuned? Do you think it's the strongest in the format at the moment? Or I mean, obviously it was first and second at our tournament, but it hasn't performed quite as well across the globe.
So I think it has a few things going for it. One is it's incredibly good at tiebreakers. That's such a relevant factor in competitive battle spirits. We were talking about it a lot at Worlds. Like I was talking to some of the other guys in top 8 about it, and I have basically rethought how I build sideboards based on the fact that there's a good chance you go to tiebreakers, especially in those top 8 games where people are really, really thinking through their decisions. And I don't even think they're playing slowly. Like Harry the past weekend definitely wasn't playing slowly. You just have to, like, you know what's at stake, and you're playing really, really like in a bubble. And so it's really important to have something that's good in tiebreakers. And the other thing I think is Hydra, I think, was getting way more targeted this weekend, because I do think Hydra is the better deck, but people couldn't get frogs, right? So Hydra didn't have this, like, there wasn't a massive Hydra, and a lot of the people that were on Hydra maybe weren't top 8 level players or whatever, right? So I think that Era wasn't as targeted as it maybe should have been. I mean, I definitely had a bunch of cards for it in my sideboard. And I felt like when I put the games that I played in Swiss against Era, where I put down like a heavy barrel and or like or what you call it, Brigid or a counter sword, like it felt like it made the game a lot harder for them.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely,
Harry's list was really incredible against that. That was like a really like well tested list.
Which of those cards would you say was the best counter card that you had?
I mean, counter sword was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Counter sword is great for scamming a time as well. That's another big part of the reason that I was on it. But also, like, I played against Aimu, who was playing a like green aggressive list.
Yep.
It let me make like a 2 life point swing, because they would flash in Hidden Leaf Elf, and then I could counter sword Hidden Leaf Elf and gain a life, which meant that I was taking, like, I was able to then take more damage and swing back. So counter sword was just absolutely insane. I think it's a weird card, because as much as I finished the event and I was like, yeah, I just want to jam 4 copies in, I think it does get worse when you have too many copies, because it is a bit of a dead card a lot of the time. Yeah,
but obviously can be very impactful with. I mean, when summons getting punished is a heavy topic in the Nexus podcast with debates and stuff. So
it's sort of why I think ultimately, like, the Era deck will, like, it could be the best deck in the format, but it'll never be like an overbearing presence, because you do have those options to punish it. And I think that's like that alone means that there's a lot more ways for you to sort of absorb it into the format that I don't think Hydra necessarily has.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say your affinity with white is as a color? And how do you find you've adapted between the metas? Like, do you find it easy to adapt, or is that what you find fun about the testing process?
Absolutely adore the Battle Spirits has these sort of like, there's a lot of discovery in Battle Spirits, which is really, really cool. And partly it's because the game is very small, right? We don't have the massive data that like Pokemon or Magic has, right? Which is an interesting challenge in and of itself. Like, whenever I was playing competitive Magic, I felt like the goal was more to tune a deck than to discover it. And now I feel like I've done quite well in finding a deck in a few different formats. But my affinity for white is, one, it's kind of the defensive control color, and two, I really like giant robots.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's kind of like it was made for me, you know? It's like, oh wow, this is the big robot color, and it's the control color. What
influenced you to have like an enjoyment for big robots then? Was it like Transformers as a child, or?
I mean, yeah, a little bit Transformers, a lot of Bionicle, and getting into Gundam at a formative age.
Oh, nice. So the Gundam, how did that go down with you? The collaboration on set 2, did you enjoy that, or because I personally I'm not a huge fan of Gundam, not because I haven't watched it, I just haven't. Not because I don't like it. It's just I haven't had a chance to watch it properly. But yeah, how did you feel as a fan of it?
it was really disappointing. They gave us like what, six or five on six unplayable-ish cards. You could maybe play the Barbatos Acadia one.
Yeah,
they made them way too
ironically,
rare.
ironically, the free one in the box topper was probably the most
Yeah,
playable
right.
one. Yeah.
And like I should have been all over the Exia card, but it was like unplayable and they're too rare to be even worth justifying to buy as a collector. And it's just like, ah man, you guys blundered that one. But they've done a lot better with Ava, which is another series I absolutely adore. I used to have an Evangelion podcast, so I am
Oh,
so
awesome.
excited. It doesn't look like there's going to be any white cards in the set, but I'll still be
That's
playing
kind of
some kind of
sad.
Ava deck.
That's kind of sad for you. But isn't there meant to be more Ava stuff coming as well after this collaboration booster?
Yeah, they said actually there's gonna be more in, like, I think they're gonna do more of the stuff they did in set 4 type stuff.
Yeah, so
Um,
they're really hitting hard on that. Obviously you're a fan of the anime, but do you think that's a good strategy to help promote the game?
I think you need IP now.
Yeah.
Like I think it's sort of a sorry state of affairs because like I do think that, like, especially when I was a teenager playing Vanguard, it having its own IP around it was quite cool because it meant that, like, you could get invested in that stuff. And like, I do have a few of the like Battle Spirits cards where I'm like, I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I think the lore is quite strong with the game. It's just not very widely known about, really, and
it's
maybe it
really hard to
needs
get
it needs
it's
a
hard to
bit
get people
more.
invested in it, right?
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. I mean, that's what we're
it,
trying to do, I guess, in a way.
like, yeah. So I do think that, like, this was a strategy they used in Japan for the original game when it started like having a bit of a downturn. It's like, get people in with collabs, and then they'll start caring about like your Michaelas and your Novas and your Derm Dynas. Like,
Hmm.
you have to get people in, and let's hope that Ava does that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are going very hard on it. I um I welcome basically anything that will help promote the game, and if it will get more people involved, then I think it's the best way
Yeah.
to move forward. But yeah, so being a bit specific, putting you on the spot here a bit. I mean, Battle Spirits has been out for around a year now. You've played obviously most of the big competitive tournaments. Is there one match that sticks out in your mind that is your favorite? And what was the big play
That's such a good question.
that kind of like makes it stick in the mind? Because obviously we all play a lot, we all test a lot, but in tournament, what was your biggest moment
Man.
where afterwards you were almost like shaking and your heart's beating?
Okay, I have a few.
Go on then, yeah,
Um,
we got time. Let's.
there's only one that I would like really. The first time I played against Blandon at Glasgow, there was definitely a moment there where like I felt like the way he was playing was very different to everybody else, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is the level up, right?
Yeah, the pinnacle.
Yeah, and like that was a really close game. It was really fun. I lost, and then I didn't get top 8 at that event, which kind of sucked. But sometimes you don't draw your Norman guards.
It's true.
But yeah, so there's that, and then the other two are both at Worlds. And the first one was in round 2 at Worlds. I played against Enoch, like Ayumi's teammate.
Yeah.
And that game was incredibly exciting because it was just sort of like I sort of knew what he was on because they'd been playing it for the whole format, but I hadn't had the chance to play against it, and we hadn't really tested against it. We'd sort of theory crafted against it, but we hadn't tested against it. And sort of in game 1, I think I just managed to scrape out a win, and I noticed that they had one copy of Core Theft because I'd seen like their whole deck, and I noticed they had one copy of Core Theft, and I'm like, oh, you have Core Theft in your deck, and you used it discarding like 5 cards to kill my elk. So this is the reason that you have that card in your deck is because you're afraid of my things that invalidate your defense. And so then game 2 and 3, I just played completely differently, and I was just kind of like, it was really, really tight. And I think like game 2, I think I ended up falling behind quite quickly, so I scooped quickly, so I had time for game 3. And then game 3, I just managed to get him down to like two life, and then that was just enough that there was no way for him to really defend against like consistent damage from Derm and Elk and stuff. And I felt like after the end of that, we genuinely, I think we both just like I think Enoch like burst into laughter. It was such a hype game, and it really kind of made me feel like, oh yeah, okay, I am that guy. Like I am going to top this event. And I think I sent a text to my boyfriend where I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna let anybody beat me, and if they are gonna beat me, they're gonna have to try really fucking hard.
Nice.
So
nice.
yeah, and then yeah, the last one was obviously top 8 against Caleb. And that was the moment where I realized I'm not that guy. I feel like I played really, really well, and that was as close a game as it could be. I wasn't super prepared for the smack decks. I got by quite a lot on the fact that I was just able to kind of like, I had a good match innately, and I was able to sort of adapt to it. But yeah, no, playing against Caleb, I was kind of like, okay, I'm still not there yet. I need to.
Huge shout out to Caleb. Do you think he deserves the moniker of world champion?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember before our game started, Blandon came over and was like, if you could beat Caleb, please, then I can be the best player. And because I think it was then like he would have better results than Caleb. But no, Caleb, when you sit down against Caleb, you really do kind of like, it's strange. There's kind of an atmosphere of like, oh, I'm playing against a like chess robot. Like this guy is not going to make any mistakes. And it's up to me to play at that level and hopefully eke something out, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And there was just stuff he was doing that the other Smack players weren't doing that like completely changed my game plan and kind of fucked me up a little bit. Like he was really, really willing to just play down a Smag as just a chump. Like this is just to block your guy. And that alone was probably one of the biggest factors in him being able to beat me versus his teammate that I beat to get into top 8.
Absolutely. And yeah, still congratulations to you. An incredible result at Worlds. You must have been chuffed to have made it there. Obviously disappointing not to take it down completely, but still a great achievement and a great prize as well, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's pretty much all we've got time for really today. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have any like final thoughts before we leave?
Yeah, I think as the like we only have 2 more online events with Hydra, I guess. So maybe the Ava set will do some work, but like that deck is not a reasonable presence in the format, especially as frogs become more available. Either that or unban Expire. Those are my 2 things. Those are
unban Expire, yeah. One or the other.
Or ban Hydra, you know.
That's a really good take. That's a really good take. No, it's been great to have you on, and I'm sure we'll have you back again in the future. Do you have any? Have you put out any content about your deck list or anything like that? Because obviously we haven't really featured that. It's been more about the player than the cards.
No, I haven't. I suppose I could fire up a stream or something, but yeah, the deck list is out there. I tweeted about it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm happy to answer questions if anybody gets me on like Discord or Twitter or whatever. I'm on everything.
What? Yeah, there you go. So yeah, go check it out. We'll put your link in the comments, and if anyone wants to ask any questions, you probably are the greatest white player in all of Europe, at least, as far as my knowledge goes. So keep up the great work, and I'm sure you must be looking forward to Pro Tour, and well, I'm sure we're all looking forward to knowing where Pro Tour is. What's your thoughts on that, real quick, before we leave? How do you know?
Bandai is really fumbling it.
Yeah.
I plan on judging for the rest of the opens for that PT. Because I do think we have a bit of a lack. There's a real lack of judges.
Yeah, I mean,
quiet.
I've honestly considered it as well, because I've got my Pro Tour invite as well, and obviously I've done a bit of judging. So I might look into doing that as well. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we know where the Pro Tour is soon. I mean, that would be a start.
Yeah. They really need to release a full roadmap for the year. It's actually crazy. We don't even know like how many PTs are going to be, like where Worlds is going to be. Like this is all stuff that should be out there, you know?
Yeah, but fingers crossed we get some answers soon. So finally, I mean, obviously you just told us you want to be judging. for a few events, which will be very welcomed, I'm sure. But do you have any sort of future plans to play any other games, or do any other tournaments soon? And do you have any shout outs finally before we leave?
Yeah, so other games, I've just gotten into Pokemon with my boyfriend. It's quite fun. I don't know if I'll like play it too competitively, especially not for this year, because the World Championships will be in Hawaii. I don't think I'm likely to qualify with like when I've started, but also obviously there's a huge movement from native Hawaiians to push back on that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm still sort of quietly playing competitive Tekken. I'm not sure if I like Tekken 8 enough to dedicate like 3,000 hours like I did. But like I'm still playing. I mean, I've got the university Tekken finals tonight. So see how that goes.
Oh, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You feeling confident?
It depends on if anybody's playing the new DLC character.
Makes sense. Pay to win.
Yeah, as for shoutouts, like obviously shout out my testing partner Dave. They're
legend.
They've not done too well at the past few events. I was kind of shocked, but I really pegged them to do better than me at this event. And Kieran for helping me bounce some ideas off, as well as like everybody else did that too. But that's me, I think.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you in the future events and stuff. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and thanks for tuning in. And yeah, give us some likes and comments below, and if you've got any questions, like I said, we'll put your X below, or your Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
and remember, you can always play white. Don't listen to anybody else. You can always play white.
It's true. We'll see you next time, guys.